I don't have any problem with however God turns out that they are and is. I don't have. Sometimes I wonder, why don't we all just get on board with whatever it is and do it? If it's God, that's fine. But things actually are a little more complex than that. Yeah. Hence reality, right? And so we're doing our best to understand this. We're doing our best to try to get people communicating about these things, because people have an opportunity to say some insightful things. Sometimes it boils down to, look, this worked for me and I feel blessed and I love my life and I want to share it. And it tells us, if your attitude is, no, the bottom line is that everybody that doesn't believe in Jesus is going to roast for eternity. If that's how you really feel, then I think you even should say that too. Say it then, if that's what your thing is. Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction video. Now, before I tell you exactly what we're reacting to, I wanted this week to do a reaction on the New Age, because we do a lot of reaction videos on religions and what they believe and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to know more about the New Age. I want to know what they actually believe. And so I went onto YouTube and I just typed in what is the New Age, what do they believe, and surprisingly enough, I couldn't find anything, no basic system, no structure, or who to go look for to tell you about the New Age. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what I did find. I found hundreds of videos of Christians talking about why they don't believe in the New Age, why it's bad, and why they say they were involved with the New Age, whatever that is, and how they converted out of that into Christianity. Right. Which was very fascinating. That is very fascinating, that correlation. Yeah. So I would like to know, if anyone out there is watching this, if you can point me in the direction of some material that is done by New Agers, people who say, I'm a part of the New Age movement. Please let me know. I want to know. But what this kind of triggered in me was it made me remember someone I was talking to, a Christian on TikTok a few months back, and she had recommended that I listen to this guy who was a part of the New Age, and maybe she thought I was a part of that for some reason, because we talk about Eastern mysticism. And well, we could be. The description eludes us.
Right? I'm a New Ager. I don't even know it.
Yeah. But she was pointing me towards this guy who left the New Age, and his name is Steven Bancarz. And I guess he's kind of like the poster boy. He's got this video that's been viewed over 1 million times about his story, how he was involved with what I guess is the New Age, and how he left. So I was like, why don't we react to that? That might be interesting to see what he has to say about it. And we are taking this video very seriously, because we study the analytics, we watch over our content and how different religious groups react to our content, because we try to give everybody a bit of a voice. Yeah. And this is the second time we're even filming this. We're taking this one seriously. We want to give it the due respect, and we actually are doing our darndest to try to create a dialogue going with the Christians. We want to hear what they have to say. Yeah. We want their input about these things. With other groups, we've had that happen.
Yeah. It's easier to stimulate conversation with certain groups. We've had our struggles with Christians of the past, getting them to just engage with us at all.
Yeah.
So maybe this spurs something in you. But we'll watch this video and we'll unpack it.
Hey guys, Steve here. Some of you may know me as being the creator of the Facebook page and website called Spirit, Science, and Metaphysics. And some of you may know me as being an admin and author on the Spirit Science Facebook page and website. If you've been following me on social media recently, you'll know that I've completely renounced the New Age. I'm no longer writing New Age articles, and I'm actually a born-again Christian now. So I just want to share with you, my story, my testimony, and basically what happened. So I was actually born and raised in a Christian household. I grew up going to church pretty regularly, but I never considered myself to be a Christian. It was just something that I was exposed to and familiar with, but it was never something that was an active reality in my life. My journey down the rabbit hole really started when I was in high school, when I first saw an episode of Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a television show that presents all the evidence that ancient man was visited in the past by extraterrestrials who they thought were, gods descending down from the sky. So this completely blew my mind and called into question, the biblical worldview that I had been raised with. So I started to research aliens obsessively, and I bought the first 3 seasons of Ancient Aliens and watched them through, front to back, over and over and over again. I also started researching things like channeling, astral projection, hidden knowledge, spiritual science, mysticism, and all this stuff. And what started off as study turned into practice, and I started practicing things like tarot card reading, meditation, lucid dreaming, astral projection. And during this time, I was also in school studying to be a philosophy major. And so when you're having, out-of-body experiences and in school studying philosophy, the idea of Christianity just seems naive and childish. And I used to look down on Christians as being, thoughtless and intellectually inferior, I guess. But the problem was, in my studies, I would see near-death experiences, people giving testimonies of having seen Jesus in heaven, in the afterlife, or having seen hell, and then Jesus pulled them up out of hell. And whenever they would tell their story, they would be in tears, they'd be crying, and I would cry. I would be moved from their testimony. So I was, really into the New Age, and I'm really into philosophy, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, there's something unique and different and special and pure and holy about Jesus.
Is that okay if I pause for a second?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. He showed some clips of some people getting sort of emotional, I'm assuming, from their testimony or their experience of...
Well, what comes to mind almost instantly is that I've watched a lot of NED stories. People talk about near-death experiences. There's a guy I even follow on YouTube. I listen to a couple a week, actually. And the interesting thing is that it usually is an emotional experience, but one that isn't exclusive to some type of a Christian realization. Sometimes people come from other faiths, or they're even an atheist or something like that. Sometimes it moves them more towards a realization of, say, source, or maybe their own religion that they grew up in, whether maybe it was Catholic or like Muslim or Buddhist or something like that.
Sometimes it'll be like an ancestor.
Yeah, or aliens.
Yeah.
Aliens. Yeah. And it moves them in all directions. So it's not something that I would say is just exclusive for the Christians.
But my question is, do you think tears and emotional response, do you think that legitimizes, do you think that adds to the legitimacy of something when somebody is reflecting their emotional...
I think it probably speaks more to something that's going on inside of that person that feels real to them. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it gives them the full truth or the full picture of something. Mm-hmm. It just resonates deeply within them on some level about some situation or how they feel about something.
Right. Well, we've like I said, we've seen this already, and this guy's testimony is pretty powerful. So I think,
keep going.
And I couldn't put my finger on it, and I couldn't reconcile it with what I was researching and experiencing in the New Age. So I just basically kind of put it on the back shelf, but I always knew there was something different to the person of Jesus. And then after about 4 to 5 years of research, I started a Facebook page in November of 2012 called Spirit Science and Metaphysics. It blew up pretty quick. I started to connect with other admins from other Facebook pages. We would share each other's stuff. Before long, you're up at, 250,000 likes. And around this time, Jordan from the Spirit Science YouTube series reached out to me, said that he liked my research and my page and that he wanted to connect. So we, had a work partnership for a while. And we also had a friendship. He was, one of my best friends online. And in January of 2014, I launched my website, spiritscienceandmetaphysics.com, which some of you may be familiar with. And because of all of the Facebook pages I had connections to, my website was a huge success. I was getting about 150,000 to 250,000 website views a day. And I had articles that were, just going viral. So I was basically making a killing for myself off of ad revenue. And so being 22 years old, I went out and bought myself a sports car. And, greed and materialism had a really big hold on my life. I was obsessed with making money. To be honest, I thought that this was God rewarding me for serving humanity. I felt like by teaching New Age doctrine, I was actually helping humanity awaken and raise its consciousness. And so I was writing articles for my own site, and for a while I was also writing articles for the Spirit Science website, which some of you may know me from. And during this whole time, too, I was still trying to figure out God, trying to understand Jesus, trying to understand, where Jesus fit into the puzzle and where God fit into the puzzle. And I used to believe that God was basically the energy of the universe. I used to think that to have a relationship with God meant to have a relationship with your inner self, and that all you had to do to have a personal relationship with God is to just meditate and tap into that inner stillness, that inner silence, because God, as I thought of him, was the I am presence, the core identity of all things. And so sin played no role in separating us from God. And I was actually watching, hundreds of hours worth of debates between Christian philosophers and atheists because I wanted to know the best philosophical argument for the existence of God. But I thought of God as being an impersonal force in the universe, kind of like the Hindus do. And this is the way I understood God. And I understood Jesus in this way, too, as being someone who was self-realized, who realized his unity with the divine, and that he was calling us to do the same. So I thought Jesus was, someone who ascended to his own inner God nature.
I would just like to stop there because he's talking a lot about that personalization, that connection, and I feel like he wasn't getting that wherever he was. And I've mentioned this to you before, but someone put it in an interesting way to me before, that Eastern mysticism is kind of like does a very good job with the wisdomy, hard knowledge, hard stone cold truth aspect of spirituality, while the Abrahamic religions do a good job of catering to that nurturing, caring, heartfelt center aspect of spirituality. And maybe what's going on here is that, he had gone so far one way that he felt that he just was not getting that other side of it, and then made a full 180 and went back and to get that other part that was missing. Because I think we both need both. That sometimes the courage to face the hard stone cold truths of reality, while at the same time getting that, feeling that warmth of the Creator, that love that we get in,
Right. I hear what you're saying. I also think that Christianity can, although it can be almost like that, I think last time we filmed, you said almost like a feminine version of it, where you're the recipient, of God's love, and versus a kind of like a law and order type thing. But it's both. Within the Bible, that the Old Testament there's tons of laws, there's tons of rules, and then it's kind of like in the New Testament, it really gets into the love is the greatest commandment type thing. And I don't know what I would say about Eastern mysticism if it's all more masculine. There seems to be an awful lot of talk of love and God's infinite love within it too. And as far as this guy, what's his name?
I think it was Steve.
Yeah. I'm taking his testimony at his word. I'm trying to fully just listen to it and let it affect me however God wills it affect me. But I don't want to betray anybody that is a Christian finding us for this first time. This is a spiritual channel. If you go watch our other videos, this isn't a Christian channel. But I want to give this its due and the respect. So if this guy says it happened this way, I'm taking him at where he's saying it, how it actually happened, and reserving my judgments. Trying to regard it from that place.
And in the summer of 2015, I decided to buy my first house, and here's a picture of it here. And this isn't to brag about my former life or something. That's not what this is about. To be honest, I'm ashamed of my former life. This is more so just to share how much greed and materialism and the pursuit of money had a hold on me. And so on the outside, I was living the dream. I had the house I wanted, the car I wanted, all the money I wanted. I had a successful website online. I was working from home, all of these things. But I felt unfulfilled inside, and I couldn't understand how. I had all this spiritual experience and all this, spiritual knowledge, but on the inside, I was still unfulfilled. And there reached a point where I had to face all of my traumas and all of the skeletons in my closet at the exact same time. Just things started blowing up in my face, and having always known there was something a little bit different about Jesus, I started to warm up to him as an idea. I didn't become a Christian, it wasn't anything like that, but I just started to explore more open-mindedly the things pertaining to Jesus. And so I began to read the Gospels a little bit. And during this time, I was still writing New Age articles, I was still making lots of money, and I still felt lost inside. And there reached a point where I felt that I had to just be broken before him. So one night I went outside onto my back balcony of my stupid house, and I just basically fell on my face before him and was weeping like a baby, basically reaching out to him. And when I did this, I felt the atmosphere around me start to change, and I could feel...
I just had this thought about brokenness, when he says, I still felt as though, what did he say he felt as though? As though he still needed to be broken, or just that's what happened? But either way, my point is this. I think that something very pivotal and something very significant happens when anybody ever gets to a point in their life where they are broken. The ego is a pretty strong thing, and I'm kind of wondering now that this guy is a Christian, if the types of Christians he's encountered. If he's encountered Christians that are very open and Christ's living through them. If he's seen some Christians where he's like, whoa, that guy's, he's pretty dogmatic and pretty, egoic, or pretty we gotta save these people or they're going to hell. You know what I mean? Like they're not allowed to be atheists or something. I would wonder. I would want to hear more about what he's actually said. So we're gonna have a link to his video, right? But my first point I was trying to make is I think that shouldn't be taken for granted, the power of being broken and tears. I think even Jesus talked about blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those, because they will be, blessed are those that mourn and stuff like that, because they'll be comforted. It's actually higher to be that way than it is to be foolishly, egoically. And I even wonder, and I mean this with no disrespect, I just honestly wonder, if some of his spiritual practices prior to this set him up to be in a better place to accept God's grace. Yeah. When it did.
Or maybe even to work through the religion itself.
And that's not me trying to insert some plug, man. We're not affiliated with anything. And I just think it's like, don't let anybody's ego get in the way of seeing that there's something very... it doesn't matter what someone is broken by. The fact is that they're broken in that moment. And he's about to talk about what happens next.
Yeah.
In the air, that there was something holy and pure around me. And it was also personal. And I knew in that moment that I was in the presence of Jesus, and the quality of everything around me changed. The wind felt like it was infused with his presence, and when it hit me, it would hit me it just completely broke me. And I felt like he was showing me himself and showing me who he is and where he stands in relation to me and to life. And I was just getting so many downloads about, oh my gosh, this is so simple. Jesus is the Lord. Jesus is the Son of God. It's not some complex, mystical thing. And when I was in his presence, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. And this might sound weird, but what stuck out for me, what I really needed to see and to feel was how okay, how it sounded like the crickets and the leaves on the trees and the sounds that were outside in nature, they were all pointing towards him. They were all glorifying him. And I was witnessing it. And after that experience, I went back inside and I started to think about all of the New Age stuff I'd been involved with. And I was just having light bulbs go off in my head, like, oh my gosh, that's what that is. That's a deception. That's a lie. And I never wrote another New Age article from that day forward. In fact, drinking stopped, smoking stopped, pornography stopped, sex stopped, and addictions were just falling off, like, immediately right after one experience. And for the first time in my life, I had a conviction to live righteously and to...
Man, there's got to be a lot of people nowadays thirsting for that, to drop those addictions like that miraculously, quickly, and to get a sense of righteousness, for Pete's sake. I think,
Oh, yeah.
like, we're not perfect, you and me, and, lots of us in this Western society, and nobody on the planet is perfect. But I'm saying that I think that, sometimes there is a real desire to drop all the nonsense, all the things that we do to cope with life, and get a sense of actually, like, being in right place. Like, oh, I'm in the right zone here now.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying it. I have some questions. I'll kind of save it for the end.
Sorry.
No.
I'm probably rudely
No, it's
okay.
fine. I think it's good. It's interesting what he's saying. I have some questions, some skepticisms. I'll share it at the end, like questions that I would pose. But we'll let this play out.
to live a holy life before God. And when I was in the New Age, the topic of sin doesn't even come up. People don't have a concept of sin. And I had a conviction of sin immediately after that experience. A day or two later, I phoned Jordan, and I was like, man, I can't write for your website anymore. I basically just cut all of my work ties, stopped writing New Age occult articles, and I deleted all of the ones on my site that were affiliated with the New Age. I threw all the idols out of my house. I burned all of my occult and New Age books. And I started to do a lot of heavy research into topics that I previously thought were safe, like astral projection, channeling, aliens, and I started to see them through this new spiritual lens that I had. I felt like something had been awakened within me, and I was like looking at all this stuff and being like, wow, this is a bunch of crap. And because I wasn't writing any New Age articles anymore, my income got cut by 97%. So I had to sell my house, I had to sell my car, and I was glad to. And about a week after I had this experience, I was laying in bed trying to go to sleep one night, and I could feel in like the background of my spirit, I had never felt that dimension to my being ever, even in meditation. I could feel that there was a personal presence there where there once used to be nothing. It used to just be a void. And now I could feel this thing inside of me that I had never felt before, and it was prompting me to read the Bible. It was turning me away from sin. It was encouraging me to live righteously. And I could feel it, and it was personal and objective, and it was inside of my spirit. And I later found out through, reading the scriptures that this is called the inner witness of the Holy Spirit, and that it bears witness with our spirit and testifies to us the truth about Jesus Christ and so forth. And this for me was the icing on the cake. I mean, I had felt Jesus like a week before this, and now I was feeling him 24/7 inside of my spirit. And I remember feeling the Holy Spirit in me, trying to fall asleep and thinking to myself, like, wow, most people don't even know this is possible, that there is a spiritual way that we can know firsthand that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And this presence that was in me, it authenticated and verified to me the truth about Jesus just by its very nature. And so for the last few months, I've been getting my feet under me and studying scripture, and I got baptized about 3 weeks ago. And I actually have a new website too. It's called exposingthenewage.com. There's a link to it in the description down below. And on that website and on this YouTube channel, we're going to be going through basically every single New Age deception that's out there. There's a lot of disinformation out there that's not only false, but also dangerous and demonic. So we're going to take a look at that stuff here. And on this channel, we're also going to do things like look at the evidence for the divinity of Jesus, the historical evidence for the resurrection, answer questions like who wrote the Bible, what reasons do we have to think heaven or hell exists, and stuff like this. And so stay tuned for that. And I just want to leave you guys with one last thing, and I want you guys to know that God is not an energy blob. God is not some kind of impersonal force. God is not prana or, some kind of void. God is a personal being who loves you and sees you and has a purpose for you and has a will for you. And it's his promise to you that if you seek him diligently and sincerely, that he will reveal himself to you.
So, I wonder with some of those last things that he was talking about, like when he was describing God as a way, he's not this, it's not that, and it's this way. He talked about that connection, that feeling he had with the Spirit. I wonder if it could be both at the same time. And I also wonder how, people, they gravitate towards a way. Is there one way to kind of come to this understanding of God? Because some people, they swear it's under this context, has to be defined within here. Mm-hmm. And then there's other people who say no, it's it's boundless. It's boundless. Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk to him also about that presence. Does he carry that presence when he first had that epiphany on his deck? Is it still like that today? Is that something that he carries around when he stubs his toe? Is it still there? Controls, is it still there? Another part too that I kind of picked up on there. He's a very busy guy. He jumped right from that New Age thing into creating a website for. He's doing the same thing just on the Christian. Right. As a Christian now. Right. I think he even has a book. I was looking at his YouTube page there. He's got a book and stuff like that. I think one of the things I think, and this is just my opinion, I could be totally wrong. One of the things with spirituality is that it's very easy to get caught up in all the crystals and the trinkets and the fun and the Reiki sessions and the doing all this stuff, right? But it's the more inner work, the harder inner work. I don't necessarily think you need Jesus to be to think that drinking's bad or pornography is not good for you, or these are things that we all work around. Right. And there are other people from other faiths and stuff like that are good people, right? That do these things, and I think he found some help through the Christian narrative. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have some insight into this because we both grew up in a Christian church. Yeah. Going to church. We were Christians most of our lives. So we have some idea of, where the opinion that might form when you say that understanding that these things are wrong from the Christian perspective, and that the world might also agree they're wrong. There's a distinction made when you become saved as a Christian about the exactness of why this takes you away from the Lord, and then what God and the Lord is actually about. The Bible's pretty clear about laying some things out if you're going to live according to that faith model. One thing, we've edited a lot of stuff I've said out of this. I don't know why. I've had a heck of a time with this one, man. Yeah. This one is just, the first time we recorded, I was like, why did I say that? I felt bad about what I was saying. But one thing I feel like I gotta mention, for whatever reason, is at least once in my life, I've known of a story where these people were like, we always wanted my dad to get saved, and so we this is somebody I know of.
Yeah.
They were like, we wanted my dad to get saved. Our whole family was Christian, and he was always just an atheist, wasn't interested, and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And you know what? Finally, when he got elderly, he did it. All that prayer worked, and he went to church and he got saved. And I asked him after the service was over, hey, did you do it? And he goes, yeah, I prayed to Jesus. I'm saved now. Right?
Yeah.
And that's not the only story I think there is of that out there. I feel like that's one among other things of, and we prayed for years that they would turn, and then they did. Yeah.
Some of part of the there's this side of me that looks at a story like this, because I watched many of them in preparation for this, of other people who had gone through similar things. A common trend is that they come from a Christian background, and that they bailed on it, and then they came back. And it's kind of like the prodigal son story.
Remember what Peter Panagor said? He said when he awoken or whatever, they were like, what did you grow up around? Go to a Christian church, or whatever it was, Catholic or Christian. Yeah. Sometimes these even the people in the spirituality, new age world, I guess.
There's got to be a pull there. When your family and loved ones are a part of something, and you've got holidays and all this stuff that come around.
Might be the way your mind is structured, that it's like, this is going to be your best avenue for experiencing God.
Yeah.
It's through this thing, because you're already so primed to experience it this way. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. We're just, this is what we do.
Or maybe we're wrong and it's the absolute truth.
Right. And I wanted to get to that, to say that, like, I don't have any problem with however God turns out that they are and is. I don't have. Sometimes I wonder, why don't we all just get on board with whatever it is and do it? If it's God, that's fine. But things actually are a little more complex than that. Hence reality, right? And so we're doing our best to understand this. We're doing our best to try to get people communicating about these things, because people have an opportunity to say some insightful things. Sometimes it boils down to, look, this worked for me, and I feel blessed, and I love my life, and I want to share it. And it tells us, if your attitude is, no, the bottom line is that everybody that doesn't believe in Jesus is going to roast for eternity. If that's how you really feel, then I think you even should say that too. Say it then, if that's what your thing is. Whatever you believe the truth is, say it, so that we may all be edified, so that we all may learn.
Well, we talked a lot on this one. This was a good reaction. I like this one. If you guys liked it, please, leave a comment. Let us know. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Share this with a friend. And hey, everyone, until next time, stay spiritual.